Good evening, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch or listen to this podcast. It's me, Omar Sean Borja, the Burger Proper, coming back with week two as Bobby of the TNT College Ball podcast. We discussed the Lambert Trophy race right now as it stands. We're in around the first lap of, I guess, the Lambert Trophy 500 or maybe Lambert Trophy 12, if you will. And man, what a week it was for both of our teams for very different reasons. So we will get to that later on. But Bobby, thanks for joining again. Late as always. But how's everything going?
As always, Omar, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I'm excited to talk about my guys and what we got going on moving forward, but staying professional here. I think we have some interesting games to talk about this week. I know week two from the national perspective isn't as
Yep.
heavy as of a slate. We've got a couple games here in the Lambert Trophy race that they're obviously going to be important, but could be very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know it looks like a late light slate as we were talking about beforehand, but I mean, there's some games that I guess from a Lambert perspective, for the wrong reasons, like could end up being very good. We'll talk about later on. I know the MAC can definitely throw a wrench into the Lambert Trophy race this week. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, and we could possibly have. I mean, I hate to use clickbait. I hate to exaggerate after what Michael Wilbon said. Tired of sports journalists exaggerating everything, but we could have a must-win game for a team in Lambert Trophy already in week two. But I'm excited to talk about it and just reveal our rankings and everything for this week.
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
So starting with yours, Bobby. So I will add this to. Let me change the view here. There we go. Okay, wow, that was smooth. I already had it there. So for your rankings, Bobby, for your Lambert Trophy rankings this week, your lucky 13, we got Penn State, Navy, Pitt, UConn, Rutgers, Boston College, Syracuse, Buffalo, West Virginia, Temple, Delaware, Army. I didn't include what you said. Don't shoot me in parentheses next to Army, and then UMass at 13. So I guess what was your takeaways from this week in Northeast football or Eastern football? Starting off with what team impressed you the most and who disappointed you the most?
Well, I'll say I think the team that impressed me the most was Temple and their performance against UMass. Not that they won, but it was how they won and how they dominated the football game. It was just impressive to see the performance that their quarterback Evan Simon had. He was fantastic, and I know a lot of people are down on UMass and saying like, "Oh, Temple should win that game and everything," and they went out there and took care of business the way that they were supposed to do. So I was very impressed by their performance. Another team that I was impressed by was Rutgers taking down a very, very good Ohio team. I'm super high on Parker Navarro as a quarterback from Ohio, and I thought Ohio had an opportunity to upset Rutgers and win that game, and they really did. It was a really good football game, back and forth between the two. But I was impressed by Rutgers getting that win. Of course, I was impressed by UConn and the way we came out and dominated Central Connecticut the way we were supposed to, but our offense set a program record for 638 total yards of offense. Pitt looked impressive against Duquesne, who's a very, very, very solid program at their level. And I mean, the obvious team disappointment would be Army losing to FCS Tarleton, who, let's be upfront about it. Tarleton is a very, very good football team, and they're in the race in the FCS to compete for the national title. Like they are that good. But another team I was disappointed with was West Virginia. Yes, I know they won by a sizable margin, but if you watch that first half, it was not pretty. And I know it's a new coaching regime, new players. They have 60 some odd new players in the program, but still, it was like it just things weren't clicking. And I'm sure as things go along, it'll get better. But this week they got a really, really tough game at Ohio, who I've already just talked about, who I'm high on and think very highly of. If West Virginia starts slowly again, that could go bad in their favor this week.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with your picks there in terms of just disappointments and and surprises. Temple too. Temple really surprised me. I guess first before let me preface that with I guess my rankings. So going into my rankings, Penn State 1, Navy 2, Pitt 3, UConn 4, Boston College 5, Rutgers 6, West Virginia 7. West Virginia falling to 7 again, like you said, with the Robert Morris game, with how poor they looked against NEC team. No offense to the NEC, but I think they only have 45 scholarship athletes at the football or in football, and it's kind of the expectation if you're a Power Five school, like you blow out Northeast Conference teams like Pitt did and like Florida did. Syracuse at 8 can't really penalize them too much for losing to Tennessee, but kind of in the fashion that they did hurt their case. Buffalo at 9. Because Syracuse's loss to Tennessee is better looking than Buffalo's loss to Minnesota. Temple at 10, Delaware at 11, Army at 12, like you, and then UMass at 13. I think for me, the team that surprised me the most in a good way, I'd have to say, is Temple. And something that came to the back of my mind after seeing Temple, looking at the stat line, seeing the highlights, is like, man, I remember thinking last year, like, Evan Simon is going to be dangerous if he has like protection and if he can just like not be pressured. And that's what happened. UMass didn't sack Evan Simon at all. And not only that, like Temple's got a run game. Jay Ducker is an amazing experience back. It's almost to the point too. It's like I don't want to, overreact, but Temple could probably steal some wins over the middle of the American if because
Mm-hmm.
Casey Keeler's just that great of a coach. Evan Simon was a good quarterback. I think he had 5 touchdowns last year against Utah State or something like that. Just a really amazing game against Utah State and showed that he's capable of doing that. But Temple gave up 37 sacks last year. So, man, I was really impressed with Temple, honestly. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'd have to say another team I was really impressed with, I'd have to say, I'd have to agree with you on Rutgers, honestly. Like Ohio, it's not an easy. That's not an easy team to beat, honestly. Just the way they fought through that one. So I'd have to agree with you there. I agree with West Virginia being a bit disappointing. For me, I'm gonna pull up Delaware as a disappointment, and I know Delaware kind of stayed stagnant in the rankings, and I know they've dealt with some adversity with Zach Marker, their starting quarterback, getting injured early on, but Delaware State, the Route One rivalry, that's a rivalry that they have always dominated. And maybe it speaks more volumes as to what Deshaun Jackson is doing out of Delaware State and Dover, which I'm sure he's doing a phenomenal job, honestly, to even have them competitive in that rivalry game. But if you're Delaware, like not exactly wasn't the best look in your first FBS game at home as well. So Delaware kind of disappointed me. And I think that's it. I don't think I can be too mad at Buffalo um, for losing to Minnesota, and they did cover, even if it was on the most fluky pick six that I guess either of us have ever seen. So that's our rankings this week. A lot changed, and I know there's a big drop. I know, of course, Army. I guess as an Army fan too. So I guess in my opinionated opinion as an Army fan, I'm trying to find the right words. Like the team just didn't look as focused as last year at times. The blocking assignments weren't there. The reads weren't great with the option. The option wasn't flowing as much. The play calling I think had to be a little bit creative because the option wasn't quite working at times against Tarleton. And it's kind of alarming, to be honest with you, because if it's not working against Tarleton, what makes you think it's going to work against Tulane or even UTSA on Black Friday, or even North Texas too later on in the year. So until further notice, Army's got to stay towards the bottom, I think. But who knows? We've seen the Black Ices pull out more improbable performances, especially against Power Five teams, or as they play Kansas State this week. So I guess just a little bit on that. And I know that was definitely our most disappointing, I guess, team. But it's interesting too because I think there's plenty of games this week that will kind of help teams rise and some teams in the middle of the pack kind of maybe bump their way into the top five.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. One of them that we could save the talk for I think the game that we're going to kind of consider the marquee game being UConn and Syracuse being two Lambert teams playing each other. But I think Boston College at Michigan State has a opportunity to be an interesting game because I think they're both kind of in the same state of both being kind of in the middle of their conference, middle, maybe lower towards the bottom. They're not in the bottom, obviously, but they're both working to get their way up. And I think either one of those teams getting that win could really propel them into throughout the season. And like you're saying, if BC gets that win, I think it's big for them to propel them potentially into the top five here of our Lambert rankings. I think Rutgers and Miami, Ohio is interesting. Miami, Ohio didn't score any points against Wisconsin, but they also only held Wisconsin to 17 points. Chuck Martin always has a very stout defense. He was on the coaching staff at Grand Valley State when I was there, and he's a very, very great defensive mind that has just done a great job there. And I have to imagine DeQuan Finn and company are going to be ready to go when it comes to that. And then the game we kind of mentioned already, West Virginia at Ohio. I mean, that I'm really excited about that one. I think Ohio has a real opportunity here to pull off the upset, and I think Ohio is going to win that game. I think I'm going to go with Parker Navarro doing the things that I think that he can do. And I said this to you, and I've said it to many people. I think if he was at a Power Four school, he's a Heisman finalist. He's that good. Look up his stats last year; they're phenomenal. We were talking before we came on the air. Just the string of quarterbacks they've had there is pretty remarkable. Um, I know beforehand Army at Kansas State was going to be a marquee game, and it still is. I think Kansas State looked very, very poor against North Dakota this past week. I watched the end of that game. North Dakota should have won that game. Um, and Army's going to play better this week, or you at least think they will, coming off a tough loss. And as we all know, it's always hard to prepare for an option team. You're only going to, in Kansas State's case, I mean, you're only going to play that once this year. So I mean, you got to prepare for that. It's not easy. Um, so there's a couple other games too that are interesting. Like you got Navy UAB, a conference game. Pitt Central Michigan's interesting because Central Michigan just had a great road win at San Jose State. But I don't want to take them all from you, so I'll let you talk about a couple of them too.
Yeah, so I think that's a good transition going from Central Michigan to Pitt because I guess us Army fans like if we were to adopt a second team to root for in FBS, it would be Central Michigan with one of our assistants, Matt Drinkle, being the coach there. And I mean, honestly, Rice and Central Michigan are just easy teams to root for this year just because they're championing the schemes of I don't want to use the term run the damn ball, but it's just like they're championing just like winning the game through mistake-free football. I mean, looking at Rice, they had no turnovers. It wasn't pretty for Rice. They had, I think, less than 4 yards per carry, but they didn't turn the ball over, and they put their defense in positions to succeed. The same formula, sort of, with Central Michigan. I mean, wasn't pretty, honestly. I know we talked beforehand about Joey Levis being in that rotation and him not really being a runner. I mean, but like Central Michigan they had the power run game going. They shortened the game. They kept San Jose State's run and shoot offense off the field. And I feel like the same thing can happen. I know I picked on another. I'm not big into the betting lines, but as for football made us do or we're doing I guess pick weekly locks. So for me, when I was looking at that could be closer than what they say is Pitt Central Michigan. Like Central Michigan will shorten that game, and if you remember, I think back in I think it was 2021 where Western Michigan actually beat Pitt, the Pitt team
Mm-hmm.
that with Kenny
Yep.
Pickett that went to the Peach
Yep.
Bowl. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Central Michigan can throw a wrench into this. But man, like Pitt did what they had to do compared to West Virginia against an NEC school. So that's one that I'm really eyeing, ahead of time. Also, too, Navy UAB. I'm interested to see how impressive Navy looks, just because UAB really struggled defending Andrew Body on Thursday night against
What
Alabama
a
State.
performance by him! That was awesome.
He was. I mean, he tried to play too much hero ball. I'll say that, and it kind of hurt me. I know it probably hurt you as a former quarterback seeing that, but man, like Alabama State's going to be a problem, and I think we need more
Yeah.
parity in the SWAC. Like you need more teams representing in the Celebration Bowl. So they got my early rooting interest out in the SWAC. But yeah, I mean, I like Blake Horvath had as much of a I guess kind of like safe game in terms of how Navy played him. Only had 2 carries, but I would be surprised if he doesn't have a 200 100 game, to be honest with you, like 200 passing, 100 rushing. But how impressive Navy looks with that one could help them and help their case. I do think it's interesting too. I guess the last note I'll make on the matchups, how you said about Boston College, Michigan State, where like Michigan State is a common opponent for Penn State as well. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could see a thing. And I mean, I'm not saying that Boston College is going to win the ACC, even though the ACC is hard to project naturally, but head-to-head results, could come to play in the Lambert Trophy. And so this is a huge game. It is on NBC. I think it's hilarious that you had to remind me, honestly, that this game was even happening because it's just your run-of-the-mill non-conference power conference game where it's like two middling teams. Like this game is no different than what would be the Pinstripe Bowl or any other bowl that the ACC and the Big Ten meet in December, where it's like these teams come in with 6-6 records. But maybe I'm selling Boston College short because the pass game looked amazing. It really looked amazing
Yep.
against Fordham, granted, but man, Grayson James' stat line, like I just looked at it again, like whoo, 5 for
Mm-hmm.
590 yards. Oh my goodness, wow.
Well, I guess one more game we should talk about is Penn State and FIU. FIU is receiving
Yeah.
votes in the coaches poll. Um, let Willie Simmons votes in the coaches poll. So
Oh,
I that is what it is. But I,
oh man.
I'm kind of poking fun at that a little bit. But Penn State doesn't play anybody till they play Oregon. That's fine.
I didn't know that. I thought they had a rule where you couldn't vote for your own team,
That, that could be true too. You could be right.
but I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think anyone was taking FIU
Because
seriously.
who else was gonna vote for him? That
Yeah,
big win over Bethune Cookman.
yeah, like I don't know. I mean, there really isn't, I guess, a way to, I guess, describe that honestly. But in FIU, I mean, Conference USA looks even more wide open after Middle Tennessee, got blown out by Austin P. So maybe a win over a FIU or a bowl bound FIU team helps Penn State's case in the Lambert Trophy. Maybe that's what puts them over the edge over
Yeah,
say Xavier Pitt.
if that's what it comes down to, I think we're having a, questionable year. Let's just say.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. In that case, it might just be like a four-loss Lambert Trophy team winning it, which
Yes,
I have to look at the
yes.
archives and see. But I'm not sure that's happened much. But we have hinted at the game of the week in the Northeast. We've hinted at it. Which before that, I just wanted to mention a sort of stat though. I guess heading into or not. I could be wrong, but heading into Army Kansas State, where Kansas State's still ranked in the AP poll. If Army were to beat Kansas State, it would be their first win over an AP ranked non-service academy since the early '60s. I'm trying to find the exact
Wow.
date. Yeah, it has not happened in a long time. I thought it was 1962 against Penn State, but it's having me look further back for the last time that Army had beaten a ranked non or a ranked non-service academy team. I want to say it was even like 1960. I want to say.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time, needless to say. But the game of the week, I forgot to mention that the game of the week. So UConn Syracuse, man, I know we really belabored the UConn preseason hype. I know that you're excited for sure about UConn this year. They looked great. I mean the program looks rejuvenated again. Looks like another year of success has filled the stands. I was surprised, honestly. Like not disrespecting the UConn fan base, but any fan base probably wouldn't show out for their FCS paycheck game. But UConn fans really showed out. There's interest behind this program. This week, they have Syracuse at noon in the Carrier Dome. Is this a must win for UConn in the Lambert Trophy race?
Well, let's first talk about the fans. We had over 37,000 people there, which was more than any group of five program in the country and more than a lot of Power Four programs. So kudos to UConn Nation getting out there supporting the guys me and my co-host for our UConn chat that I do on my show, Pete Callen, we continuously tell UConn fans that if we want to get into the ACC, Big 12. We have to continuously have the stadium full, and it's super super important. And like you said, for that to happen against Central Connecticut is huge. Now to answer your question, from a Lambert Trophy perspective, yes, this is a must win for UConn. They have to beat Syracuse. Um, just to it gives you a huge feather in your cap when it comes to playing against a fellow Lambert Trophy team. Um, and moving forward, I mean, honestly, when it comes to us having the success that I think that we can have this year, getting this win in particular can create that snowball that we can just keep it moving, keep it going, because we got a stretch of games coming up after this where I feel like we can really get things going. Obviously, Syracuse presents a lot of challenges, and I'm looking forward to watching this game. I cannot wait to cheer the guys on.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. I mean, the old Big East that I grew up with is back with this one, at least for a moment.
It's a huge rivalry.
Yeah, it's amazing. Feels like this game's on the local ABC channel on the original ESPN Plus / Big East Network. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for this one. I would have to agree that this game is a must win. I mean, I feel like if there was a power conference game to drop for UConn, not to say that they will. I mean, I think Duke is the one because you want those
Mm-hmm.
head to head victories and you want to look good in those wins because I believe Pitt definitely plays Syracuse, but I believe Pitt also plays Boston College as well. You want a better margin of victory in those games. Yeah, Pitt does play Boston College. You want a better margin of victory in those games than Pitt. I mean, not to say I don't think Coach Mora is looking for style points for the sake of winning the Lambert Trophy. I think he's just trying to win each game and see where the cards fall at the end of the year. But I mean, you want to win those games decisively, convincingly to kind of have that edge. And looking at your schedule too, Bobby, like you mentioned, the stretch of like these huge games, like part of me is wondering about like the issue that us voters will face when if UConn were to go undefeated in these Lambert Trophy games, because wins against fellow Northeast teams has to count for something. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we're getting our count straight, wins over Syracuse, Delaware, Buffalo, Boston College, yeah, and Boston College would give them 4 wins over Lambert Trophy eligible teams, which I think would be more than any other team in the
Mm-hmm.
eligible for the Lambert Trophy would have. So it would be an interesting dilemma where what do we value as voters? Lambert Trophy wins for the sake of the trophy or most accomplished team, top
Mm-hmm.
25 conference championship, New Year's Day bowl bid. So just an interesting what if, but I mean, I know we're in week 2. I don't want to overreact.
Well, I mean, if we're able to do that and say Penn State loses 2 games, even 3 games, I think if we finish the year 10-2, 11-1, getting 4 wins against those teams, I think we're in a very, very legitimate spot to take that. Again, you got to see where Navy finishes, where Pitt finishes, but we all know like Penn State is the favorite, and we all know that like they're one of the favorites to win the Big Ten. They're one of the favorites to go to the college football playoff, win the national title. They have much bigger aspirations than winning the Lambert Trophy. But at the end of the day, like we know what that looks like. Now, if they drop a couple games and we win those games like we're talking about, we put ourselves in the best possible place to be the Lambert Trophy winner at the end of
Yeah, I would have to agree, and I think there might need to be some sort of politicking for like the whole most accomplished team language. I think that might require UConn claiming a conference champion as the FBS independent conference champion because Notre Dame's already dropped a game. So,
the year. Hey, I'll lead it. I'll lead the whatever we got to do in that case.
so yeah, if there needs to be some wording like best record among FBS independents, so some very dressed up wording. I mean, it'll make for an interesting situation. But again, Syracuse, UConn. I mean, I think that's the game that everyone in the region's looking out for. I guess I know we haven't really talked about the FCS games. It is interesting though because I mean, brief note on Temple, Howard. I mean, this is more so for Howard, but I'm researching a piece. Howard used to play almost every other year in Philadelphia against Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, in what people considered probably one of the biggest games of the year in black college football in the early 1920s. So it's good to see Howard back at Philadelphia for that one. Just wanted to bring that up. not a Lambert Trophy eligible team, but Temple plays. Hopefully Temple's not looking ahead to September 13th. Yeah, so hopefully we're not looking ahead to next week because that could be trouble there because we all know what's waiting for them out at the link.
Yeah.
Which maybe if we sensationalize, we might even be talking about Temple, Oklahoma as a Lambert Trophy game if Temple takes care of business. Which, man, it's just interesting. I mean, early in the season, the headlines can be anything you want them to be.
Absolutely, and anything can happen. I mean, we know that this sport produces some of the craziest results. I mean, last year I was at Northern Illinois against Notre Dame. Nobody would have
Yeah.
said NIU was going to win that game. I thoroughly said that they were going to cover, but I never would have said that they're going to go outright win that football game. I was at App State, Michigan as well. I mean, that was obviously one of the biggest upsets in the history of college football. Anything can happen on any given Saturday or Thursday or Friday or whatever day they're playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess just going back to this week, I mean, just a lot of great game or a lot of solid games, a lot of underrated games, I'll say, because there
Mm-hmm.
aren't really the big eye-catching games in the Northeast, but there's underrated games, like you mentioned, the MAC games. Like the MAC can really do some damage in the Lambert Trophy race. I
Mm-hmm.
won't go as far as to say that they'll take one of the games, like you said, like with the Ohio game, but I really think Miami will take Rutgers down to the wire because, like you said, like I was surprised by how DeQuan Finn performed last night because
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just game day, maybe it's just like game day rust because he played sparingly with Butler, or sorry, with Baylor last year, played sparingly with Baylor, but I mean, I think that DeQuan Finn figures it out and makes the Rutgers game pretty close. I won't go as far as to say they'll beat them, but I think it'll be close. But just so many interesting non-conference games too. Even a resume building game like Penn State FIU against a team that is receiving votes in the coaches poll. Which now I got to look at the coaches poll now to see what shenanigans are happening.
I don't want to poke fun at this either, but like Bryant had a decent showing against New Mexico State
Yes.
last week.
Yep.
They play UMass, much closer trip, obviously. And I, like I said, I don't want to poke fun at this and say that they're going to win. But they competed well against another FBS team. I think they're going to be very highly motivated against UMass to come out there and get a W. And we saw UMass struggle last week.
Yeah, exactly. Brian is still looking for their first FBS win, and a couple years ago they did almost beat FIU. They took FIU down to the
That's
wire, which
right. That's right.
I mean, I'm surprised how much we're mentioning FIU during this Lambert Trophy podcast. Which is it's really crazy how that's working out. But yeah, that's one I forgot too because I was thinking about that. I mean, had to have been tough for them, like going to the altitude of Las Cruces in the borderlands, because people make a big deal about New Mexico, they make a big deal about Colorado, of course, but the altitude's pretty high up there too in the borderlands in UTEP and New Mexico State, and for them to have that performance and hang around as much as they did against New Mexico State, that's one I definitely overlooked. And to be honest, this is something that I mentioned last year when it came to UMass playing games against, so like I think last year was Central Connecticut State and Wagner, where it's like which fans are going to show up more. It's like I'm not I don't mean to disrespect any UMass fans. All love to the Curse of U, the Maroon Musket, SSN UMass,
Yes.
all those
Yes.
good UMass dudes that I,
Yes.
communicate with on a regular basis. But let's be honest, like Bryant fans are probably more excited to show out to see their team play in a or play against an FBS team than UMass fans playing against a team that they perceive probably is still an NEC school, even though they're in the CAA, which the makeup of the CAA is a different story for a different day because that's a really tumultuous situation. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have a 50-50 crowd, in
Hmm.
Amherst. And I wouldn't be surprised if that plays a role because last year, like Central Connecticut State competed well with UMass. Wagner did the same too. So that's a great point. I can't believe I almost forgot about that one.
Then I don't want to forget either Delaware going to Colorado. Colorado had a very solid showing against Georgia Tech, but I'm really intrigued to see Delaware in this game and how much they compete against the Buffaloes. And the altitude, I think, will play a role in this game. But at the end of the day, like we know Delaware can bring it and can compete against anybody. So I'm really intrigued to see. Also because UConn plays them next week, so I'm very intrigued by that as well. But I think they can go out there and they can handle themselves and have a very good showing.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. That was something that I did kind of write notes on beforehand, just kind of forgot about that one. But yeah, that is a power conference game for Delaware, or for Delaware. So that definitely would help them if they did win or have a strong showing
Mhm.
against Colorado too. But like you said, the altitude. But that's one for sure. And I mean Nick Minicucci too. I mean he should be more comfortable after being thrown into the fire after the injury at quarterback. So should be interesting. And there was times too where Caden Salter didn't look too great, so
Right.
that could also be an X factor there for that one. Also on Fox too. Great to see more programs getting on Fox this year too. I mean, it's just a great weekend for the Group of Five on the networks because San Jose
Hmm.
State plays Texas on ABC. First time since '06, which I wrote an article about. So shameless plug. But
Very
yeah,
well done.
thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Bobby. But yeah, like that one too. And like you said, like it's easy to write off Delaware and say that they're not going to beat Colorado, but who knows really? And at that point
Hmm.
too, if that does happen, I mean, I guess we would have to put Delaware into our top three, even honestly, top three of our Lambert Trophy polls.
They would definitely make a jump, that's for sure.
Yeah, can't say a number, but they would. So
Hmm.
I think that wraps everything up game wise. Let me look at the list of teams, see if there was any games I did not cover. Syracuse, Buffalo, West Virginia, Temple, Delaware, Army. Yep. Okay. So we covered all of our bases. Bobby, is there anything final you want to add before we sign off?
Well, I'm just obviously very excited about our matchup, of course. It's a huge opportunity for us, obviously. Um, I don't I don't want to get too too jacked up for it. You guys can go listen to me and Pete Callen's preview for it on my podcast, TNT College Football Podcast. We do a weekly UConn chat, and we bring up this game a lot, and we talk about how our rush defense wasn't the greatest against Central. And Syracuse obviously presents a challenge in the running game. So we'll see. We'll see what transpires there. But like we said, I mean, there's the quote unquote national people might say this is a weaker slate, but from the Lambert Trophy perspective, there are some really key games, the MAC games that we've brought up, and others that they're just really intriguing. And I think we'll have some more shakeup in our rankings this week as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I think one last note too that I thought of too with Rutgers in particular. I know we talked about Rutgers' really tough schedule conference
Hmm.
wise, but I was looking at their non conference. Like if they can go 3-0 non conference, and just have to win three conference games, I don't think that's too much to ask Greg Schiano to do. To be honest with you, I mean he's done an amazing job at Rutgers in both stints, so this week's huge. Like this game
They
could be
got to
the
win this game.
yeah, they have to win this game. I mean,
Hmm.
I'd hate to say a must win. Like it's not must win for Lambert, but it's must win if Rutgers wants to get back to a bowl game, or
Hmm.
so you'd think. I mean, they do have some tricks up their sleeve. I know, like they almost beat Illinois last year. They beat
Hmm.
Minnesota in unexpected fashion. But man, you would have to think this is must win for the bowl situations. But like you said, Bobby, like I mean, you would think nationally, just looking at it, that this isn't a great slate, but there's potential for FCS upsets to shake up the Lambert Trophy. I mean, I don't think many people thought Army would lose to Tarleton. I certainly didn't, honestly. I thought we reloaded just fine, but um, anything goes, or anything can happen in college football, to say the least, especially
Hmm.
in the race to the Lambert Trophy. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much for joining and watching. We hope we weren't too I guess long winded, but man, I guess even in a perceived light slate, there still is plenty to talk about and plenty to ramble on. Thank you again, Bobby, for joining so late as always. Really appreciate it. Just staying up, talking ball and life off the net with you. And until next time, everyone. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you, and peace on the soul, Burger Popper.